Once again, we'll start by reading the problem. The hospital hires 2 patient care assistants to cover a total of 60 hours a week. The first employee hired has 5 years of experience and earns $10.45 an hour. The second employee hired has no experience and makes $7.95 per hour. The hospital has budgeted $540 to pay both employees. How many hours does the hospital assign to each employee if it spends the budgeted amount? Round to the nearest whole hour. Just like the previous problems, we'll start by looking at the question. So I find the question is, how many hours does the hospital assign to each employee? So I know that my unknowns are hours for employee 1, and I'm going to put with that, when I read the problem, the first employee is earning $10.45, so that just helps me keep track of who employee 1 is, and that's per hour. And I don't know the number of hours. The other thing that I have to figure out is the hours for employee 2. And again, just to help me keep them separate, I'm going to put their hourly rate, so they make $7.95 per hour. And now, just like in the previous problems, one of these I can make X. And I really don't know more about one than the other, so I'm just going to make the first employee X. Now I have to look for a relationship. In both cases, this variable expression that I'm defining is in terms of hours. So I want to look in the problem for things that deal with hours. Now I mentioned in the PowerPoint that this is a 2 total problem. So as I look through the problem, here is the total number of hours, and then down here is the total total amount of money. So because I'm defining the variables in terms of hours, I want to use the total amount of hours. I know that the total hours add up to 60. And I know that however many employee 1 works, employee 2 has to work the rest of them. So if I take the total of 60 and I subtract the hours worked by employee 1, I would get the correct amount for employee 2. Let's make up an example. If the first employee works 10 hours, then that means the second employee would have to work 50 hours. That would be the only way to cover the total of 60 hours. Now I'm ready to write my equation. Again, because there was a total in the problem, I'm going to write something plus something else is going to add up to the total. And my total here is $540 because it's the total that I have not yet used. I know that employee 1 is represented with X and employee 2 with 60 minus X. But these 2 expressions represent hours, and this equation is adding up to money. So I have to include the money. Well, the cost for employee 1 is $10.45 for each hour that they work. So I'm going to multiply that times their number of hours. And the cost for employee 2 is $7.95, and again, I have to multiply that times the hours that they work. So now, because I have added their hourly rate, I have money. And so the money can add up to the total money, and I have an equation that makes sense. Quickly, I have to solve that equation, and so I make sure to use the distributive property on the parentheses. So I have 10.45x plus 447 minus 7.95x is equal to 540. And I'm going to let you finish solving that and get the answers on your own.